Let me clue you in. I am not in danger, Skylar. I am the danger. A guy opens his door and gets shot, and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
Breaking Bad is not a very good show. Alright, now that I have your attention, you probably hate me, and that's okay. However, please hear me out. That statement was what I used to think before I was enlightened. Okay, to tell the truth, I never thought that Breaking Bad was a bad show, I just personally didn't like it. And people always kept telling me how good it was, that it was a masterpiece, that I would forget about my love for Game of Thrones if I just watched Breaking Bad. But still, even after repeatedly attempting to watch the show and repeatedly failing for over 2 years, I just didn't see what the fuss was about. For this past year, I've been doing a lot of reflecting about everything, really. Because my psychology classes contain a lot of philosophy, so I'm kind of forced to. In this past year, I feel that I've become more conscientious about my own thoughts and opinions, and this led me to reconsidering my dislike of Breaking Bad, and thought that maybe I wasn't being charitable. I realized that I had become petty, and so I decided to write down my petty reasons for not liking Breaking Bad, and then I would set myself the goal of finally completing the show, to then see if my weird disdain for it was warranted or not. So let's go back in time to a couple weeks ago and see what I had to say about Breaking Bad. But first, check out my Patreon so that I myself can buy some of that crisp baby blue. Now on to you, past Turf. Thank you, future Turf. I hope you're doing good. So in my opinion, Breaking Bad is too American. And listen, I know that I'm a person who goes out of his way to be involved in American culture, but still there are just too many yos. I know why this is the case, it makes perfect sense for that time period, and I'm personally not afraid to dish out the occasional yo myself, but yeah, the volume just got to me. So you probably thought that I was going to come here with legit criticisms, but no, I meant it when I said that I'm petty. This show is great, I just don't vibe with it. But that's not all of it, of course. I'm also just not a very big fan of westerns. I wasn't really interested in a lot of the characters, and so whenever they weren't showing Walter, I was kinda bored. And I also think the pacing is very slow at times, and yes, the payoff is satisfying, but with everything else I've mentioned, it's just hard for me to stick around for that payoff. Maybe it's also the fact that this show has been hyped as the best show of all time by so many people, both online and that I know personally, and the constant recommendations I got to watch this show just triggered my inner contrarian, and so maybe I willed my dislike for the show into existence. Now most of these points are very personal reasons, I know, that's also the point. My dislike for the show doesn't make sense, but it's there nonetheless. But anyways, that's just me 2 weeks in the past. I've made a pact with myself that I will finish this show and try to let go of my biases. I won't let myself get distracted, I will give this show the attention that I know it deserves. And then afterwards, I'll be able to make my final statement. Is Breaking Bad as good as they say, or is it overrated? I guess we'll find out. Back to you, future Turf. Thank you, past Turf. So after finally watching the show properly and finishing the last 2 seasons, I can say that I have been a tad bit wrong. The show is a lot better than I gave it credit for. However, for the first 3 seasons, I still stand by some of my claims. I still think the show occasionally takes a long time before it ramps up, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. A lot of people like a slow tension build-up with good payoff, but at times it's just a little bit too slow for my taste. However, without all of these plot points being set up earlier, they wouldn't come together in such an awesome way as they do in the last 2 seasons. But yeah, there are still just parts that are a bit of a drag for me to watch. The thing is, season 1 is great. It's short, it gets straight to the point, and I've never had trouble watching that season. However, season 2 is where Breaking Bad is the most unwatchable for me. It's still good, but it also just feels like setup for the greatness to come. And after having watched season 4 and 5, I can say that this build-up was absolutely worth it. But that doesn't make this season any easier to watch for me. Season 3 is actually quite good, with great moments happening every episode. However, I just feel that after watching season 2, I was starting to get worn out, so I never appreciated season 3 the way I probably should have. Honestly, if I'd been watching these seasons as they came out, I'd probably have enjoyed the show a whole lot more. It's just me who's bad at binging shows if I'm not already super interested. However, season 4 was where this show really picked up for me. With season 3 ending the way it did, this season picks up right in the middle of the tension. And oh boy do I love Gus Fring as a villain. He's the perfect foil to Walter White. He's everything that Walter wants to be, and this season is so much fun. It's almost like a cat and mouse chase, and it's interesting to see how far Walter is willing to go to defeat Gus. That final episode is already amazing, with Walter finally killing Gus and asserting his victory, but the best moment of the season for me is the reveal that Walter actually did poison the little kid. And fuck, this was the best way to get me hyped for season 5, because not only is Walter now the Kingpin, but we still need Hank to find out his identity, and now we have Jesse's potential reaction to finding out what Walter did. There was just so much juice to be squeezed out of this final season, so yeah, season 4 sparked something in me. It made me realize that this show is something special, and for the first time, I genuinely couldn't wait to start watching the next season. And Mother of God, was the payoff worth it. Season 5 just didn't let up even once. It was just constant intrigue with so many memorable moments, but when we got halfway into the season and Hank puts the pieces together, that was the moment I've been waiting for the whole show, and it did not disappoint. Seeing Walter and Hank's battle of attrition was super satisfying, and it led to some of the best moments I'd say in TV history. The line Walter delivers here sent chills down my spine.
If that's true, if you don't know who I am, then maybe your best course would be to tread lightly.
I love the way his character has developed. Seeing his rise into Heisenberg is just perfection, and this is the culmination of it. And this leads us to Ozymandias, which was really fucking amazing. Probably the best episode of the series, and one of the best in TV history. So much shit happened within this one episode, from Hank's tragic death to Walter realizing that everything he had been fighting for has crumbled when he sees that he's not part of this family anymore. And then it ends with him having taken Holly, and at this point I really couldn't tell how far he was willing to go. That's the beauty of this show. I knew deep down that Walter would never hurt his own child, but the tension is still there in full force. And god, the phone call with Skylar where he knows the police is listening, and he paints himself as the true villain, trying to say that Skylar was just a terrified prisoner of his wrath. It's a truly heartbreaking scene that the true meaning of I didn't even catch the first time watching. Ozymandias is a masterpiece of an episode, but the finale, oh lord, the finale was amazing. Watching this final episode made me realize how long ago it was that I watched the finale of a TV show and felt true satisfaction. Game of Thrones is still to this day one of my favorite shows of all time, despite the fact that the later seasons get progressively worse. The good parts are just so good that I can always rewatch it. It has a special place in my heart. However, the finale of Breaking Bad really opened up my eyes to what the ending of a fantastic TV show should look like. There were a bunch of loose threads coming into that finale that I had no idea how they were going to piece together in a satisfying way in just 55 minutes. But they did, and they did it so well. I was well and truly mesmerized. Naturally, some plot points were left open-ended, but it worked. I came out of it happy. I wasn't spending my time thinking about, wait, what happened to this character, or this didn't quite make sense. I just felt satisfied, and now I look back on Breaking Bad as a wonderful experience. Compare this to the finale of Game of Thrones, which was easily my least favorite episode of that final season, as I was still on board at this point, but it just felt lackluster. The whole show had spent so much time building up plot threads and characters and dynamics, and a lot of them were just left unfinished. Now granted, Game of Thrones had a shit ton of plot threads to bring together, many more than most other TV shows, but I mean, that's not an excuse. If you set the standards sky high, then don't be surprised when people set high expectations for you. Breaking Bad also set high expectations, and the payoff was extremely satisfying. I'll probably at some point do a deep dive comparing Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, because I do still see them as the big boys of television. But overall, I can say that Breaking Bad was a treat to watch. All my petty reasons for not finishing the show feel so irrelevant now, because I truly dig this show. It's just so mature, and although it's still not my favorite genre of film, I can still appreciate what a masterpiece this show is. So if you take anything away from this video, I want it to be that you shouldn't be petty. Wow. How enlightened I am, I know. No, but what I mean is that we're petty sometimes. We have our own petty reasons for disliking something. Often just the thought of a show that we haven't even watched just makes us want to vomit for some reason. I'm sure some of you can relate. We encounter so much new information every single day, heck, every single minute. The world is filled to the brim with different perspectives, viewpoints, and opinions. and it's hard to truly know what we as individuals really believe sometimes. It's completely natural to be affected by these external stimuli. It happens to all of us, for better or for worse, and our images of things are affected by this. But sometimes I think it's good to try and remove our own biases, to let go of those silly predetermined ideas of what something is before giving it a good whirl. It just might surprise you. I know this monologue might be a bit unwarranted for a TV show that I couldn't get myself to watch, but personally, finally telling myself to just do it helped me learn some new stuff about myself. At the end of the day, I'm just a random dude who's very late to the party of liking Breaking Bad. But you know what? That's okay. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this. But other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, stay safe, and peace out.